Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's DAF, Bava Kamma DAF Samach Ches. We are on Samach Zayin Amud Beis, 5 lines off the top, off the bottom of the Yomit. So we go back to the Mishnah, where it says, Eina goinev, achara ganav mishalem tashlimi kefil. Suppose Levi steals from Shimon, who stole this very item from Reuben. So first Shimon steals from Reuben, and then Levi goes ahead and steals that same item from Shimon. Does Levi pay double? Does he pay kefil to Shimon? Ein hagoinev achar ganav mishalem tashlimi kefil. So a ganav who is followed by another ganav who steals that same item from him, that last ganav does not pay kefil, because as Rashi brings in the Mishnah, the pasuk speaks about the item stolen from the original owner. That triggers kefil, vegunav mibeis ha'ish, as opposed to stealing from a ganav, which Levi did when he stole it from Shimon. Amarav lo yishanu. That's only true elo lifnei yush, if the original owner, in this case Reuven, was not yet meyayish. He didn't yet relinquish his rights. He didn't give up hope of retrieving his item, in which case he's still considered the true owner. But if Reuben had already given up on this item, so Shimon, the first ganav, now acquires it. It gets transferred to his sort of ownership. He becomes the ba'alim. V'ganav sheini mishalem tashlimi kefil ganav rishon, in which case Levi will now pay double for stealing it from Shimon, who is considered like the owner, because yush affects a transfer of ownership. That's Rav's shita. Yush is koine, in which case the ganav is now considered the actual owner, because he only has to return, he only has to compensate the owner, he has to pay him, but he doesn't have to actually return the item itself. So in terms of owning the item itself, he is the owner. Rav Sheshes disagrees. Rav Sheshes, I was thinking, kinayim, we've become so accustomed to such high standards from Rav. I cannot believe that Rav would have said this when he was fully alert and awake. So in a way, it's a compliment to Rav. I'm figuring, I thought kinayim v'shachiv Rav when he was dozing and sleeping. Amar lahashmata, Rav must have been dozing off when he said this. It wasn't a moment of clarity. The sanya, because I have a raya from my brisa to prove different than Rav. So Rav was the one who says that after yush, the ganav is kaina. No, the sanya. Amar Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva explains, why do we even have the idea of dalet v'hei? Why is it so that the Torah tells us, if a ganav, after stealing the animal, does tevicha, he does shechita, or mechira, he sells it to another customer, that he pays 4 or 5 times as much as the item? Why? What's the reason for it? Answer is, because he allowed his offense, his sin, his robbery to become entrenched, to become, permanent. Rashi explains, also sheroshni, he allowed it to take root by, taking the stolen item and selling it, or doing a shchita. So it exacerbates the offense. He enhanced it, and that's why he's penalized to this extent. That's Rabbi Kiva's pshat. Now let's analyze what he says. Emas. At what point are we speaking? Ilem lifnei yush. That the owner, the victim of this robbery, had not yet been miyayish. So mi'ika nishtarish. How could you present that this robbery has now become rooted and entrenched? The fact is that the ganav who sold this animal, that sale is null and void. Rashi explains, shinu rishus, without yush, changing of hands without the yush element, which is critical to allow any sort of kinyan to take place on behalf of the Ganav, on account of the Ganav or his customer, that Yush never happened. It's before Yush. So, in fact, this whole activity, this whole effort that the Ganav expended in distancing this item from the original owner was futile, was worthless. There was no sale. Ela la'achar Yush. Apparently, he was speaking that the original owner was miyayish. In which case, the loikeach, the customer who purchased it from the robber, was kaineh. Rashi explains because there was yush and a change of ownership, and shinu rishus, change of possession. Okay, so it must be that was speaking post yush. Now the question is, didn't Rav just tell us that if it's post yush, the Ganav is kaineh? V'isakadaitach yush kan. If you're going to tell me yush allows kinyan, amay mishalim tashlumi Bava Kamma. So why at all is the Ganav paying 4 or 5 times? Okay, he did shchita, he did mechira, but guess what? It was already too late. It's his. It's after yush. The shchita took place on his own animal, so to speak. He sold his own animal. So how does this work? Amri. So the answer was provided as follows. Let's slightly revise the wording in Rabbi Kiva's Bryce. The question was, why pay 4 or 5? So we thought nishtarish. It took root. It took effect. It took on an air of permanence. No, let's revise that word. Instead of nishtarish, could the Amar Rav, as Rabbi tells us later, that we change it to something else? The reason is mipnei shana b'chet, because he repeated his offense. He added another layer to his avera. Not only did he steal, but he also sold it. Not only did he steal, but he destroyed the item. Hachanam, here as well, we can revise the lashon to the following. The reason is because he's a repeat offender. And of course, we're speaking before yush. And of course, this transaction perhaps does not take effect. This sale is null and void because it's before yush. Nevertheless, despite the fact that he didn't really accomplish anything, he just tried to sell, that's enough. That's called shana b'chet. He repeated. He's stole, tried to sell it off. That's why you pay the 4 or 5. So it's not a kasha on Rav because we're speaking before yush. Tashma, here comes another kasha on Rav. Rav who told us that once yush takes place, it belongs to the Ganav. Tashma, the pasuk says he did shchita or sold. So we connect these two options. They have similar properties. Just like shchita cannot be, turned back. Likewise, the sale that took place was a type of sale, a type of transaction that cannot be undone. That's the price. Let's analyze the price. Amos, at what point are we speaking? Pre-yush. Why doesn't the sale go back? Rashi says again, Shinui Rishus, change of hands without yush is worthless. Ella must be la'achar yush. It's post yush. Here comes the kasha on Rav. So it's post yush. And that's why we say that mechira is permanent. Like tvicha. Now, if according to Rav, yush allows the ganav to be kaineh, so why is he paying at all? This dalad v'hei. Amay mishalom dalad v'hei. Sure, he sold it, but whose item did he sell? The item which he was kaineh. Shalohu teveach, shalohu meicher. Says the Gemara, you know what? Let's go back to the other option. We're speaking pre-yush. There was no yush. And that explains why the Ganav will have to pay. Because he did mechira on something belonging to the owner. Now, although the Bryce indicated that the mechira cannot be undone and turned back, that's not what the Bryce meant. Because that wouldn't apply before yush. Before yush, the transaction is null and void. All the Bryce meant to say was that in order for the Ganav to be liable for the Bava Kamma due to selling, it has to be at least an attempt to sell it permanently, as opposed to just a short-lived 30-day usage allowance, which is almost like a rental. That's not called mechira. Kedamar of Nachman, like Nachman tells us later on, Prat. We're excluding the case where l'shehikn l'shleshim yom, he only gave it to him for 30, he only sold it for a 30-day sale, which is like a rental, says Rashi. Hachanami prat l'shehikn l'shleshim yom, here as well, all the Brisa meant to say was, Mechira will only trigger this dalet v'hei payment if it was meant as a permanent sale. But of course, in reality, the sale never took off because it was before Yush. Meisve, here comes another kasha on Rav. The Brisa will relate 3 separate cases with 3 separate halachas. Case number 1. Ganav. Reuven owned an item. Shimon stole it from Reuven. Uba achar v'ganvay. Comes Levi and steals it from Shimon. What happens now? Harishon mishal tashlemei kefil. Shimon pays kefil to Reuven. V'asheni einim mishalem l'kerem levad. Levi will only pay the actual principal, no double or triple pay, to Shimon. Case number 2. Ganav v'machar. Shimon stole the animal and sold it to Levi. Uba achar v'ganvay. Comes Yehuda and steals it from Levi. Harishon mishal tashlumi Bava Kamma. Shimon must pay 4 or 5 to Reuven, to the original owner. V'asheni mishal tashlumi kefil. And Yehuda, the second Ganav, will pay double to Levi. Case number 3. Ganav v'tavach. Shimon stole an animal from Reuven and did tavicha. He shechted it. Uba achar v'ganvay. After shechita comes Levi and steals the item from Shimon. What's the halacha? Harishon mishal tashlumi Bava Kamma. Shimon pays dalet v'hei to Reuven. V'asheni eni mishal tashlumi kefil. Whereas Levi doesn't pay kefil to Shimon. Ella kerem levad, only actual value. So we have 3 cases. Again, case number 1. One Ganav followed by another. Shimon stole from Reuven. Levi steals from Shimon. What is the halacha? Shimon pays kefil, but Levi only pays kerem. Case number 2. Shimon steals an animal and sells it to Levi. Comes Yehuda and steals it from Levi. Shimon pays dalet v'hei, and Yehuda pays kefil. Case number 3. Shimon stole an animal, did shechita. Comes Levi and steals it from Shimon. Shimon pays dalet v'hei, and Levi will only pay keren. Let's go back and analyze case by case. Let's take a first look at the. Let's first take a look at the middle case, which is Ganav u'machar. Shimon stole the item and sold it. Uba achar v'ganvay. After Shimon sold it to Levi, comes Yud and steals it from Levi. Harishon mishal tashlumi dalet v'hei. Shimon pays dalet v'hei. V'asheni mishal tashlumi kefil, and Yehuda pays kefil. Emas, at what point are we speaking? Pre or post Yush? Ilim l'fnei Yush. Pre Yush. So Reuven, the original owner, was not yet miyash. Question is, Sheni ayma mishal tashlumi kefil. So why is Yehuda paying double to Levi? It never really belonged to Levi. There was no Yush. Shinoi Rishus, just because it was a change of hands over to Levi. Below Yush, before Yush, is anybody in the world that will suggest that Levi is kind? Of course not. Elo pshita lachar Yush. Apparently, Reuven was already miyash. So now the item reverts to Levi's ownership, in which case Yehuda who steals it from Levi is chayav kefil. But the question is, that's good, but we have another issue now. If it's post-Yush, then why is Shimon, the original Ganav, paying dalet v'hei to Reuven? It's after Yush. If Yush allows the kinyan to take place, why is Shimon paying dalet v'hei to Reuven? The Gemara is assuming that the Yush took place before Shimon sold it. The Gemara later will say that perhaps it happened later. But at this point, we're not differentiating. If there was a Yush, we're assuming at an early point in the game. So for the same reason that Yehuda will pay Levi kefil because it belongs to Levi, because it's post Yush. For that same reason, Shimon should not be liable dalet v'hei to Reuven because it's post Yush. Amay mishal tashlumi dalet v'hei did they who deserve him. When Shimon sold, it was his item. Let's do another question. This is the first question on Rav, who says that Yush is kind. Next question. Let's go back to the first case in the Bryce. There was a Ganav followed by another Ganav. Okay? Vasud the Tani, it says, Reish, in the first part, Ganav, Shimon stole the item from Reuven. Uba'achar Ganavai. Comes Levi and steals that same item from Shimon. What is the halacha? Rishon Mishal Tashlamei Kefil. Shimon pays double to Reuven. Vasheni, but Levi ain't Mishalim Ela Keren. He only pays the actual Keren to Shimon. Why? Michti, let's take a close look again. Lachar Yush Kaminan, right? We're speaking post Yush. If Yush enables the Ganav to acquire, Sheni Amai Ein Mishalim Ela Keren. So Shimon becomes the new owner. So why doesn't Levi pay him kefil when he steals that same item from Shimon? Doesn't that prove that Yush does not allow for kinyan? Vikasha l'Rav is going to be a kasha on Rav. The Gemara will now attempt several ways to explain this price and to answer Rav. Amar Rav. Firstly, I have a kasha on your kasha. V'tisper, how can you suggest that this price is an accurately recorded price? It's full of contradictions. Take a look at the last part of the price. Shimon stole the animal and did shchita. And now, after shchita, in its sort of flesh state, comes Levi and steals that item from Shimon. Shimon pays 405. But Levi, who stole the shechted animal, he only pays keren to Shimon. How could that be? After shchita, it certainly belongs to Shimon. It underwent this drastic transformation. Is there anybody in the world that doesn't agree that shini masa, this drastic material change, shechted animal, of course he's kind of that. So he becomes the new owner, which should trigger a kefil when Levi steals it from him. So basically, we've just proven that this price was written with inaccuracies. So let's go back and sort of restructure the price. So number one, let's assume the Bryce is speaking before any Yush happened. Okay, that's number one. Number two, let's flip things around. The halacha stated at case number 3 should be cut and pasted to halacha number 2, and the verdict, the halacha stated next to case number 2, should be transferred to case number 3. So we're sort of making a flip. We're reversing the halachas and read it like this. Case number 2 is Ganavu Machar, right? Shimon stole the animal and sold it to Levi. And comes Yehuda and steals that same animal from Levi. So we're going to change the halacha to as follows. Halacha reads that Rishon, Shimon pays Bava Kamma to Reuven because there was no Yush and there was a proper Mechira here, so it's Dalad V'Hei. V'Asheni in the Mishal no Keren, whereas Yehuda only pays Keren, the actual value, no double, no triple, to Levi. You know why? Because there was no Yush. So Levi is not really a man d'Amar, he's not a player, he's not an owner. The Shini Rishus is because there was a change of hands over to Levi, but like Yush, without the Yush element, like Kani, doesn't allow Levi to be kind, so he's not a fellow to reckon with. So that's good. And in case number 3, we read as follows. Ganav v'tavach. Shimon stole the animal from Reuven and did shchita. Drastic change here. Uba'achar v'ganva, and comes Levi and steals a shechted animal from Shimon. Of course he pays kefil. Harishan mishalm tashlum ha'arach hamisha. Shimon pays dalad v'hei to Reuven, the owner, because before the years, so he did a proper tvicha mechira, which triggers dalad v'hei. And of course, Levi has to pay double to Shimon, because although there was no Yush, but there was Shini Maaseh. It's no longer a living animal, it's a shechted animal. That certainly allows Shimon to make the kinyan, in which case Levi pays kefil. So we answered. We defended Rav from attack, because now the Bryce is not speaking about his case. Rav tells us that Yush doesn't work. Guess what? The Bryce is not speaking after Yush. There's no Yush here. You know what? We can learn the Brisa as is. We don't have to flip the halachas and reverse the cases. What was your original question? Seifa, right? The last case where he did the shchita. That's a shini masa. Why isn't he kaina? You're right. Beishamahi. The Seifa is following a unique Shitas Beis Shammai, which we had a couple of days ago, if you recall, DAF Samachay. The Amri Shinoi, even a drastic material change, the item doesn't lose its status, it maintains its former identity, there's no kinyan. But still, you've explained the third case, but Kashi Reisha, Mutziasal Rav. What about case number 1 and number 2, which are still going to be a Kasha and Rav, as we asked before? We haven't answered that. Amar Rav Zvid, let me explain, let me add. So number 1, we addressed case number 3, that's going like Beis Shammai. The whole Bryce is speaking before Yush. Now regarding your question on the second case. So third case is addressed. What's case number 2? Let's just refresh. Case number 2 was where Shimon stole the animal from Reuven and sold it to Levi, who then became a victim of Yehuda's robbery. Right? So what does the halacha say? Shimon, the first robber, pays daled v'hei, but Yehuda, the second robber, only pays kef. So the question was, why is he paying kefil? Right? Why is the second robber paying kefil? Apparently there was a yush. So now belonged to Levi, in which case when Yehuda stole it, he pays the kefil. So if there was a yush, so why is Shimon paying daled v'hei to Reuven, the original owner? The answer is very simple. We alluded to this a little bit before, based on Rashi. Skinner was speaking that the yush took place midway. After Shimon already sold it to Levi, that's when the yush happened. So Shimon was technically stealing from Reuven. So he pays daled v'hei. But once it got over to Levi, after Shimon sold to Levi, then yush took place, which enabled Levi to make the kinyan. In which case, he became the sort of current owner. And then when Yehuda stole from him, he pays kefil. Says the Gemara, my skin was speaking, Reuven, the original owner, was Messiah. Once it got to Levi's possession, but not when it was in Shimon's possession. So all you have is yush, which doesn't work. Just like Rav told us, yush itself doesn't work. Sorry. So there was a yush, and therefore, exactly like Rav tells us, yush does work. Right? Yush does work, and Levi becomes sort of the new owner. In which case, when Yehuda steals it from him, he pays kefil to Levi. But it didn't happen yet when it was under Reuven, under Shimon's care. It was still pre-yush. So when Shimon sold it to Levi, he's actually selling an item which he stole from Reuven, which still belongs to Reuven, which still identifies Reuven, so he pays daled v'hei. So the whole halachas worked out perfectly. Okay? So basically the Brisa is speaking pre-yush. That also explains the first halacha of the Brisa, which was a ganav after a ganav, right? So Shimon stole the item from Reuven, Levi came and stole it from him. Brisa says Shimon pays kefil to Reuven because it's pre-yush, right? And sorry, that's simple because he stole from Reuven, right? But why is now Levi only paying keren to Shimon? Because Shimon is not the owner; it's not keren; it's pre-yush. So everything works out perfectly. Now, one more little sort of thing to iron out is like this. Don't think. Meaning, now you can have a sort of a kasha. Why did the Brisa actually, configure it in this manner? That the yush only took place at a later point when it was in Levi's possession. Meaning, why couldn't the Brisa speak about the yush taking place when it was in Shimon's possession? Right? Don't make this mistake. And explain why the Brisa cited this type of case, Mishum de Be'inan, Yush Shini Rishus. The reason why the Brisa mentioned that the Yush took place at this later point in Levi's possession is because that's the only way Levi can actually make a kinyan, because you need two factors, two elements to allow for kinyan. A, Yush, and secondly, Shini Rishus, a change of ownership, change of possession, which can only happen when it's transferred to Levi. Don't think that's the reason. Whereas under Shimon's care, this couldn't work because you only have Yush. There's no Shini Rishus, it wasn't transferred from him to somebody else. That's incorrect. Right? So basically, why couldn't the Brisa speak of a simple case where the owner was miyayish when it was in Shimon's possession, in which case when somebody steals from Shimon, now Shimon becomes the owner and he can collect. Don't think it's because of any special reason, because Yush itself really wouldn't work. No, Yush itself really would do the trick as well. So theoretically, if the Yush took place when it was in Shimon's possession, he would be kaina with all its ramifications. Even if the Yush took place when it was under the original Ganav's care, Yush would allow kinyan. The reason why the Brisa chose to structure it so interestingly, that the Yush took place only later and not earlier, was in order to sort of broaden the case, to allow for a little bit of a more colorful case with more details, to teach us more halachas. We want to find a case with both fellows, Shimon and Yehuda, both Ganavim will pay up. Shimon will pay his dalad v'hei and for stealing and selling, and Yehuda will pay his kefil for stealing. Right? We want to find a case where everybody pays. How can everybody pay? Only if it so happened in this manner. Only way to get both to pay full. Ganav Rishon, Ganav Sheni. Elabach is the only way, right? Because let's say the Yush took place under Shimon's care, so he's kaina. So true, if somebody comes and steals it from him, he has to pay kefil to Shimon. But you're still missing one point. Shimon will not pay dalad v'hei to Reuven if he were to sell it at this point, because it's already his. It's after Yush. So the only way to get Shimon to pay dalad v'hei and to get the other Ganav to pay kefil is via this type of case, which is as follows: Reuven owned an animal. Shimon came and stole it. No Yush happened at this point. Shimon now sold it. That makes him liable for dalad v'hei to Reuven, because it's pre-Yush, pre-Kinyan. Now the Yush happened under Levi's care. He becomes the new owner. In which case, when Yehuda comes and steals it from him, he pays kefil to Levi. So we get everybody paying. So bottom line, we thought we had a kasha to Rav. The Brisa was speaking post-Yush, indicating the Yush is not kaina. No. The Brisa is not speaking in any way that contradicts Rav's halacha. Itma hamoichel fnei Yush. So let's carry on this discussion. V'ganav stole and sells the animal before Yush. Rav Nachman Amar Chayev. He has to pay dalad v'hei. Rav Sheshes Amar Potter. Rav Sheshes says, no, before Yush, this sale won't really work, as we explained several times before, because Shina Rishus, changing of hands, it's called Shina Rishus, without Yush doesn't really work. So the attempted sale does not really take effect. And therefore says Rav Sheshes, if it's not an effective sale, it's not a valid sale, there's no dalad v'hei. So Rav Sheshes is pretty much the opposite of Rav. Rashi points this out. Rav holds, once Yush happens, it's too late. It sort of reverts to the Ganav's ownership, and anything he does now is not going to trigger liability. Rav Sheshes goes the other way around. The only way the Ganav could be liable to dalad v'hei if it's after Yush, in which case his sale is valid and takes effect. Rav Nachman seems to go both ways. that it can work either before Yush or after Yush. Okay, let's see. Rav Nachman Amar Chayiv. According to Rav Nachman, even if he sold it before Yush took place, he's liable to Dalad V'hei. Umachara em Rachmana. Pasuk speaks about him selling it. He sold it. He tried. V'azav and loishna lefnei Yush. Loishna achar Yush, whether it was before or after Yush. And Rashi points out, obviously, according to Rav Nachman, Yush is not kaina. So, whether it's after Yush, whether it's before Yush, if he tried selling it, he pays Dalad V'hei. Rav Sheshis Amar Potter. According to Rav Sheshis, before Yush, he's totally Potter. Because he didn't really accomplish anything by trying to sell this. Chiyuv lachar Yush. The chiyuv for Dalad V'hei is only if he sold it after Yush. Dahanu Masa, because, as we explained, Yush, in conjunction with Shinu Rishus, with this transfer of possession, of ownership, actually teams up and combines to cause an effective transfer of ownership. So it's a real sale. Because his sale was effective. But before Yush, that his efforts did not pay off, were not effective. He's not chayiv dumi the tvicha, because we compare it to tvicha, to shchita, and it needs to be comparable to shchita, as we explained before. The hanu mahasav shchita certainly is very real, effective. It has a very real effective result on the animal. Likewise, ich bechira has to be of the same nature. So again, as Rashi points out, Rav holds Yush is kaina, and therefore after Yush, it's nothing to talk about. There's no tvicha mechira liabilities. Rav Nachman Sheshis holds Yush is not. Yush itself is not kaina. That explains why he's chayiv for Dalad V'hei even after Yush. It's not yet his. Rav Nachman says, well, whether it's before or after Yush, same thing. Pays Dalad V'hei. Rav Sheshis says, no. You need a proper mechira. Which only works after Yush. How do I know this is true? This is the same one we had before. Why is it that a Tavach HaMachar pays so much? Because he entrenched. He allowed the sin to take root, to have a permanent effect. What are we speaking about? Is it before Yush? Had no effect. How do you propose that this sale took effect? Apparently it's post-Yush. Who? Oh, that's a raya. And then Mechir has to take place at this point. Amar Rava, here's the Rava that we were talking about before. No, revise the Lashon. Instead of Nishtarish, it took effect, it took root. He's chayv because he repeated. He's a repeat offender. He stole and he sold, but not because it was an effective sale. Tashma, comes another rayu. We compare the two offenses. Just like tficha cannot be returned. Af mechira is a permanent thing. What point are we speaking? Before Yush. Why is the sale effective? Apparently it's post Yush. That's a raya. The chiyuv from mechira is only happening after Yush. Says no. Perhaps even before Yush, even if it didn't really take legal effect. And when the Brisa exempts and rules out an ineffective sale, it doesn't mean ineffective, it means a temporary sale. He didn't even endeavor to make a permanent sale, then there's no chiyuv of tvicha mechira. Tigmar Rav Nachman prat, as opposed to l'shik l'shlashim yom, you sold it for 30-day usage rights. That's not called a proper mechira. Says the Gemara, just like Rav Sheshis, Rav Lezer also holds the chiyuv of mechira is only after Yush, lachar Yishu. Dam Rav Lezer, because Rav Lezer tells us Teda. Let me teach you an interesting halacha. I can prove to you shestam geneva Yush balamhu. When a person steals, the running assumption is, default position is that the owner probably just gave up, was miyayish. In which case, when the ganav sells it, he can rightfully assume there was a yush together with the shini rishus, and it works. How do I know this is to be true? Shestam geneva yush balmu. I'll prove it to you from the halacha of dalad v'hei b'mechira. Sharei Amar Torah tells us Tavach HaMachar, right? What happens? Mishal Tashlum Rav Chamisha. Why? Because he sold it. It's not a valid sale. Who says the owner was miyash? Apparently we assume the owner gave up. Well, maybe the Torah obligates him even though the owner was not miyash. Amr, the answer is that we can't suggest as such because the mechira needs to be dumi the tvich comparable to a shchita. Just like that's permanent, this has to be permanent. Ma tvicha da'anu masa, just like by shchita, his action had a drastic effect. Af mechira da'anu masa, likewise his sale has to have an effect. If it's before yush, mayahanu, how did the mechira take effect? Well, maybe we heard the owner saying yush. It wasn't assumed, it was expressed. Amri, the answer was you can't suggest that the only time you're chayiv for mechira is if we specifically heard him be miyash. Do me the tvicha, because once again we compare it to shchita. The two liabilities, the two chiyuvim, are on the same track. Ma tvicha la'alta, just like tvicha takes place right away and he's chayiv. Af mechira la'alta, likewise mechira, which triggers da'al v'hei, is also speaking. It took place in close proximity to the thievery, to the robbery, immediately, without waiting for any ifs or buts. There comes a blessing and says, this proves to us that stam geneva involves yush. Amalei Rabbi Yechon. So Rabbi Yechon challenged Rabbi Lezer. You're assuming that every geneva has a yush. I'll try to disprove your notion from a kidnapper. She'eni yush balam, and there's no yush element there for sure. Rashi says a person doesn't give up on his own life. So even when he's kidnapped, he still has hope, right? He's not being miyash. V'chayiv, and still we see the Torah applies death penalty to the kidnapper. So even though he didn't really, effectively do anything, he's still chayiv. So maybe every moicher of an animal, likewise, is chayiv, even though he didn't really accomplish anything. See, this agrees with Rabbi Lezer's notion. Mechlal the Rabbi Yechanan, lifnei yush chayiv. So clearly Rabbi Yechon holds that the chiv of mechira is even before yush. Yush is not a required precondition. Now the question is, la'achar yush mai. What happened if there was yush? Interesting toss-up, interesting question now. Would Rabbi Yechon hold like Rav, that after yush it's too late because it belongs to the ganav, or perhaps hold like Reb Sheshes and Vernachman over here that yush is not koine. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yechon Amar Chai. Rabbi Yechon holds you're still chai after yush, you're not koine. Reish Lakish Amar Potter. Rabbi Yechon says, Reish Lakish says you're potter, it's too late because he was koine. The Gemara explains. Rabbi Yechon Amar Chai, Chiyuvei, the chiyuv of mechira of dal v'hei is bein lifnei yush, bein achar yush, whether it's before or after yush doesn't matter. Reish Lakish Amar Potter. After yush it's too late. Chiyuvei lifnei yushu. The chiyuv is only before yush when it's still owned by the original owner. Aval achar yush, but after yush is done, too late. Kana. The ganav is kind of a shalei utaveach v'shalei moicher is considered like his. Esvei, Rabbi Yechon who said that yush doesn't change the status of the item, asked the kashler or Reish who says it does. The Brisa says ganav v'hikdish. A person steals an animal and now makes it into a carbon. And in its carbon state, he does the tvicha. V'achakach tavach u'machar. Mishalem tashlumei kefil. So he pays double, but not the 4 or 5. Why? So Rashi explains. Because the kefil goes to the original owner, right? Because he's paying the kefil because he stole the item. Who did he steal it from? Original owner. So that works. But a Bava Kamma, on account of the shchita, which would go to the hegdish, that doesn't happen because Rashi says the pasuk specifies re'eyu, to your colleague, your equal, but not to hegdish. There's no din of paying to hegdish in these circumstances. Again, what exactly happened? What is this? What is the sequence of events? Amos, when did he do the shchita? Ilem lifnei yush, before the owner was miyash. Mikadish. How could the guy even make this animal into a carbon? It's not his. Ish ki yagdish as Beisei Kodesh. There's a pasuk describing a person taking his property and making it hegdish. Ish ki yagdish as Beisei, his own home, his own possession. Amar Achmana, that's the lashon of the pasuk. Ownership is a precondition to making something hegdish. Ma Beisei Shaloi, just like the home described in this pasuk belongs to the person, that allows hegdish to take place. Avkol Shaloi. Anything you want to make hegdish has to be yours. That's basic. A1. Apparently, we're speaking post-yush. The Ganav took it, there was a yush, and now he made it hegdish. And we say, V'taima de hegdish. So the only reason why he's not going to pay dal v'hei, because it's hegdish, it's not re'eyu, as we explained, V'taima de hegdish. That's the reason the Eidim Mishal Tashnum B'chamish. Because the shchita took place on something which belongs to hegdish. So it's just a technical, there's a technical exemption here. But suppose he did not make it hegdish. He stole the item, there was a yush, and then he did tvicha. What happens now? He pays dalvei to the owner. According to you, yush makes it his. Why is he paying at all? Why pay dalvei? Tvicha mecher took place on his animal. Amalei responds Reish Lakish. My skin was speaking. What happened was there was no yush. So Shimon stole the animal from Reuven. No yush took place. Reuven, the owner, at this point says, I don't have it. Let me make it hegdish, and he can do that. So you're working with the notion that there was no yush. Umi kodesh. But one second, how can Reuven, the owner, make hegdish on something which is not in his rishus? He doesn't have control over it, it's stolen. Rabbi Yehuda tells us, Shimon robs an item from Reuven, but Reuven did not yet give up on it. Nobody, not Reuven or Shimon, can make it hegdish. You know why? For different reasons. Shimon can't because it's not his. And Reuven can't. It's not under his care, it's not in his possession. He has no control over it. And it has to conform to Beisa, it has to qualify as it has to be something under his control. Ownership and control, both needed. Amri's answer was like this. This brisa is following a unique shita called it snuin. We'll see later there's a brisa which discusses ultra, virtuous people. So that brisa holds that you can be magdish something, even though it's not technically in your rishah. You own it, but it's not, in your control, you can still be magdish. Tisnanat snuin manichnes amois. So, people own vineyards and they know that the people might come pick. So this is the fourth year of the vineyard. It's called Kerem Revai, which requires eating the grapes in Yerushalayim. So that you can actually be machal, you can transfer the kedusha onto money. So they're nice people. So they go ahead and they set aside some coins in advance of people coming picking off their vineyard. And they say, look, they place some money down. They say, any grapes picked from my vineyard, should be transferred, the kedusha should be transferred in this money. So you can do it even though when the grapes are picked, it's no longer under their control. Apparently you can do that. Here as well, the owner was maglish the animal in the Ganav's possession. Asks the Gemara, so why is the Ganav paying kefil? Why is he liable to kefil? If the owner took advantage and was magdish the animal, so he got it back. He was not credited with a korban. It's like he got back the animal. There's no kefil there. You know when kefil happens? When the item is discovered, the Eidim, come and discover the item in the hands of the Ganav and they report to Bezdin. But here it was returned, so to speak, to the owner before the Eidim discovered the animal in his possession, because the owner already derived hanavar. He got it back. How? How did he get it back? Not physically, but he was magdish the animal. He made it became his korban. So it's like he got it back. Kshamad b'din. Says when we're speaking that the perpetrator, the Ganav, was already called to task. He was already brought to court, and he was incriminated by the Eidim. And then the Balaam was magdish. So now it's too late. Of course, he has to pay kefil. So what exactly happened? What did the Bezdin, what kind of verdict did they issue? Ida Amri, Leif, they told him, say tain loy, okay, you're chayiv, pay the go, pay the owner back. So then my area higdish. So the Brisa says, well, if he does tvicha mechira at this late point, he's not chayiv daled v'hei. And we're assuming that's because the owner already made it hegdish, and when you do tvicha on hegdish's animal, there's no daled v'hei, as we explained before. Skip the hegdish. Afilu lo higdish nami lo l'chayvi. Even if he didn't make it hegdish, he's still not going to pay daled v'hei if he shechted it at this late point, after the verdict was issued by the bezdin. The Amar Rabba tells us, say tein loy tabach machar pater. Once the bezdin issues their sort of final directive, go pay up. At this point, if the ganav does tvicha mechira is pater, you know why? My time, you know why? Given the paskul, the milsei, once they sort of concluded the case, now he goes and he shechts or sells. V'tabach machar, how about a gazlan? He's a gazlan. He's not a ganav. A ganav is a fellow who steals, discreetly and quietly. He's an outright brazen gazlan. He's going against the bezdin. The gazlan in the mishalm tashlum bar chamisha. He's an outright robber. You don't pay daled v'hei for that. Only a ganav pays daled v'hei. Let's say they told him, okay, you have to pay him the kefil, not save it to him. You have to. That's not a gemar din. It's not a finished verdict. The case has not yet concluded. So here he still retains the ganav status. So tabach machar, if he now goes ahead and does tvicha mechira mishalm tashlum bar chamisha, he pays daled v'hei because it's sort of a continuation, an exacerbation of the original ganev. And the more explains my time and why. Given like Pascal Milsa, once since they have not yet concluded the case, Akati Ganavu, he still maintains his original, Ganav label. In which case, if he goes and proceeds with Tvicha Mechira, it adds another layer to his ganev, he pays Dal Vehei. So what's going on? Why is this fellow by us paying Dal Vehei? Oh, it says the Gemara, the Tzricha must be the Amrli Chayav Titin Loy. They didn't conclude the case, they just told him Chayav. It was not yet a Gemar Din. And therefore, he would have to pay the Dal Vei to the owner, if not for the fact that the owner made it Hegdish, in which case a Tvicha on Mechira and Hegdish does not trigger Dal Vei. Okay, so a pretty rather long daf, many twists and turns, but ultimately it's pretty simple. We had a few shittas regarding, when the halacha of Tvicha Mechira takes effect. Rab says only pre-Yush, because post-Yush, the Ganav is Koine, it's his. Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshes both disagreed. They hold that Yush is not Koine. So Rav Sheshes says, well, the only time is chayiv for mechira is if there was yush, in which case the yush combined with the sale, yush with the rishun rishus makes a hanu masav, allows the mechira to take effect, and only then does he pay for that. Renachim says, well, it can go either way, either before or after yush. He'll be chayiv daled v'hei for tficha or mechira. We had a couple of other names that would sort of line up with these shittas. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Lazar and Rish Lakish all sort of take sides on this discussion, whether or not the chiv is dafka before Yush, after Yush. We had a kasha from Rashayla with the Hegdish share, and we concluded the discussion in a way which would work even according to Rabbi Yehuda. All the best to you and Atzlacha Rabbi.